Controversy in California this morning after a student newspaper wins the battle to publish a story about an 18-year-old at the school who does pornography. The school's administrators had been concerned about the adult content of that story and wanted to read it before it was published. But the newspaper's staff and advisors say that qualifies as censorship and that the story is less about porn and more about what led the student to this lifestyle. So we thought, who could we possibly talk about this to? We brought in Zach Stemmer to talk about this now. And Zach, administrators apparently worried that this exposing this mature material to students in high school is not appropriate. The newspaper is going to go ahead, and they're going to go ahead and publish this, keeping in mind that the age of the underclassmen in this school would be like around, 14 or something. So how do you feel about that?
So, first of all, happy to be here, and this is by far my favorite subject we have ever discussed.
And why?
Well, I was a journalist for 8 years. I've been everywhere from GQ to the Sun-Times, Chicago Tribune, LA Times. I will tell you, I think that this school newspaper is 100% correct. They are doing this article as a profile piece with the girl's consent, with her cooperation. I don't think that we should censor this. I don't think that sex should, in general, be something that's too taboo to talk about, And first, I just want to give mad props to this high school paper, because, like, the best story my high school paper ever did was who put the whoopee cushion on Mr. Fitzgibbon's chair. And by the way, spoiler, it was me.
That's so funny. Well, here's my thing. Okay, these kids they have access to the internet. Come on. If they wanted to, they could go on Pornhub.com. Or, they could be, not that I'm encouraging that. I'm just saying, they have access to the internet. They know already about this girl. All of them are talking about her
they are.
already. So let's let her tell the side. This article will humanize her. Tell a little bit about her choice and why she ended up where she is. I don't agree. I wouldn't do that. I shouldn't say I don't agree. I would not. That's not my kind of lifestyle. But I'm not going to make somebody feel bad for what they choose.
Right.
And I think that if there's another side that people need to open their eyes to, I say they should be allowed to publish it.
The school's own policy says that it has to be obscene to be inappropriate for the paper, and it's not an obscene article. And they had an attorney. They went so far as to have a third party read the article ahead of time to assure administrators that it wasn't violating the school policy.
They're not going in depth describing the myriad of creative positions I assume this girl dabbles in her outside school job. They take this very seriously, talking about her story, the obstacles she's overcome, why she is turning to this life, why she chose it. Right?
And it's interesting too, because she, as you said, has given her approval, and as you said, all the students already know about this. Everyone at school is talking about it. We know how that works, right? And so the reality is, she has said yes. She said that she was abandoned by her family at a certain point, and so they're telling the story about how this came about, why she chose to do this. Here's the other thing: if you're going to have a school paper, and this school is familiar with this because the journalism instructor who oversees this paper, she has been confronted by the school before, the superintendent saying, we need you to let us approve this before we publish this. And she has on multiple occasions said, no, if you have a high school paper, you have to agree to First Amendment rights. If you don't want the children to be able to have those rights, then you shouldn't have a high school paper there, right?
That's
right.
So journalism
I'm proud of those kids.
Yeah, I know. And especially in this day and age when so many journalists are being chastised for trying to report and bring stories out, even more of a reason.
And let's face it, at that age, it is hard to connect get them to read an article,
Right.
I mean, all they do is Snap and YouTube and everything.
Right.
But if you can get them to read about somebody that they go to school with, like you work with, and they see them as a different person, maybe they'll learn to be a little more empathetic and stop talking and maybe trying to bully her, and maybe they'll understand a little bit about where she came from, why she's there.
It's a learning experience all around for the journalists and for the students who will read the article.
Well, the paper's coming out. The article's coming out today, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with there. Okay, this next one I know you're interested about too, our next topic. So
very much so.
The Chicago Tribune this week is taking a look at a new trend in the burial business. More people apparently opting for at-home funerals and being naturally buried, meaning without a casket or a vault.
Or embalming?
Or no embalming involved. At-home funeral, it's generally more of a casual process. People can come. Many find it a natural burial to be less final, less, clinical, and just real, and people can come by when they want and say what they want. One story of a woman who had her husband in her home for 2 days as people came to visit. So what's your response and reaction to this?
First of all, I think it's amazing. There are so many different funeral options for people. Literally, you can be shot into a firework or scattered at sea or put in a burlap sack and made into a tree.
A necklace.
Oh, I'm making my mom into a diamond for sure.
And you know about this.
Yeah, so I've worked with the National Funeral Directors Association.
You have a lot of jobs.
I am 30 with 3 lifetimes, I swear to God. But they actually have an entire website called rememberingalife.com, and you can see all of these options and find a funeral director so you can personalize your service, because I am not comfortable picking funeral things for somebody else, right?
Right.
That's something you got to choose for yourself.
Right.
Personally, I want to be cremated and then have my ashes scattered somewhere really important to me, like Town Nightclub. Yeah, I just want to be shot out of one of those smoke cannons or baked into one of Steve Aoki's cake and thrown into the audience.
Oh my gosh, this is so funny. This reminds me of my father, who told me, you know, you're not going to come visit me when I die. And I'm like, what? Why do you say that? Because you don't even go visit your mother's grave. Well, I said, my mom's not even there. That's her body. She's somewhere else. And you even said that when you die, you don't even care. So why are you making a big deal about this? But I think that this is actually a great idea. And if you're comfortable with having that burial right there on your property, and a lot of people have wooded land or, you know, big pieces of property land, I don't see a problem with it.
Well, it's interesting, too, though, because we've had this discussion with my family, you know, do you want to be buried in? And apparently there's a trend where millennials don't want to be buried anymore. More of them are saying cremation or these natural burials. So once again, millennials are changing how things are being done. We're not going to be seeing as many, you know, gravestones and everything. And my father was buried years ago, and I've never been to his gravesite because, like you, I always felt like he wasn't there, but he was always with me, you know?
Right, exactly.
And so I've never felt an urge to go to see his tombstone, because to me, that wasn't how I wanted to remember.
My grandfather, I also feel very much is with me. He's more of a haunting presence, but very much with me.
And one word of warning, if you do bury somebody on your property, we did that with my grandfather on my parents' farm, but for a variety of reasons I won't get into, they moved. We don't live there anymore. So
they know he's there?
My parents don't live there. So the last time I was there, I had to jump over a fence. Luckily, the people were on vacation. I went and visited my grandpa.
Do you have to disclose that when you sell your house?
He's buried. He has a tombstone, and there was actually a woman from like the 19th century buried on the same property. It's a big farm in Middleburg, Virginia.
See, that would kind of creep me out then. I'd be like, a ghost is going to get me.
Right. So something to think of. He is in a casket, by the way. That
I've heard of skeletons in the closet, but not in your yard.
Yes, and so you have to tell us about the hauntings a little bit later.
Oh,
Very good, Zach Stemmer. Always great to have you. Tell everybody what your website is so we can learn more about you.
Guys, follow me on Instagram at Zach Stemmer, posting a ton of new content there coming up in the next couple months.
And where's the cremation ashes going to go again?
Town Nightclub. They're just going to blast it out into like one of those smoke cannons. It's going to be great.
So what other careers have you had so we can pick our hot topic for next Friday?
Exactly.
You name it, I've done it.
Thanks, Zach. Always great to have you. Coming up on Good Day Chicago, it has always been